Hi, and welcome to Life of Grace. I'm Nancy, and I want to tell you a little story. It's pretty much true, and it takes place many years ago, a long time ago. A little baby boy was born to a poor family. He didn't have any of the advantages that the other kids had, and it turns out that his parents were so burdened down and bogged down with their own problems that, he virtually raised himself. And he had a sense of low self-esteem and worthlessness because of his poor standing in the community and the way that his family was. And as he grew up, he ended up becoming friends with some of the lesser bad kids in town, and he began to get into mischief. Well, he had a knack for being in the wrong place at the wrong time, and even though he didn't really want to do the mischief since the other boys were and he was with them, he would always get in trouble too. Again, he tended to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And as he continued with these boys, the mischief escalated, and he became a little thief. And he was really good at it too. He stole quite a bit, and he was getting quite a reputation in town for being the town thief. And when he became a young man, he found that a lot of people were rejecting him. They didn't trust him anymore. He was lying, he was stealing, and really, he felt quite abandoned, quite unloved, and he grew to not like anybody, and he felt like nobody liked him, and he got angrier and angrier and angrier. And the next thing you know, he's getting somewhat violent. He became a career thief. Actually, stealing, since he was really good at it, was the only thing that really brought him any joy. And he was finding that he was getting more and more jaded and more violent, and eventually, when he was robbing a man, he ended up killing him. And because he had a knack for being in the wrong place at the wrong time, where he was hiding out, he was found, and he was sentenced to death. The method of capital punishment in that region of the world during that time happened to be crucifixion. And when he found out that he was going to be crucified, he decided that it really wasn't a bad way to go anyway. He knew it was an agonizing and very painful way to die, but he didn't care. He was ready to die. He hated life. He had no reason to live. He hated himself. He hated people. He hated God. He was just an angry person. He ended up being crucified with two other guys. They had them all in a row, and he was on the far right, and over on the far left was another career criminal. He was well acquainted with this guy. But in the middle, there was a different kind of guy. His name was Jesus, and he knew this because over his head and over everybody's head was the plaque that had their name and what they were being crucified for. And this Jesus, he had heard about him anyway because he had gone around saying that he was the Son of God and the Savior of the universe, so he kind of knew who he was. And he saw that under his name Jesus was King of the Jews. So he knew he was being crucified for that. Well, it didn't take him long to realize that this Jesus was very different from him and also from the other thief. And he realized that this Jesus was in agony just like he was as they were both dying together on this cross. Now this Jesus was real torn up. His skin was shredded. It looked like hamburger hanging there on him. And he knew how bad Jesus was hurting. And even so, he heard this Jesus say, "Father, forgive them because they don't know what they're doing." People had come up and were insulting Jesus, mocking him, but he was asking for forgiveness. And this thief realized that this Jesus was very different. Also, he heard this Jesus cry out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" And he realized also that this Jesus, whom he was hanging next to, knew what it was like to feel abandoned and rejected by the people that were supposed to love him. And he realized that for the first time in his life, he was in the right place at the right time. He realized that there's no place he'd rather be, and he cried out to Jesus. He said, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." And Jesus turned to him with all the love and said, "I tell you the truth, this day you'll be with me in paradise." This might be the right place and the right time for you right now. At this moment in time might not be a coincidence, But you may be listening to me by divine appointment, and it may be the right place and the right time for you to cry out to Jesus. Why don't you say yes to Him right now? And may you have a life of grace. Hi, and welcome to Venice Christian Views. I'm Nancy, and I'm here today talking with some people from Venice Christian